No, Samus and Xeris is Samus and Samus.
Just introduce yourself and give me like facts about yourself.
I'm Anthony Ellardson. I'm the founding director of GIMM. This is our 7th year. I guess I teach a number of things in the curriculum, including intro to programming and I would say interactive media theory, and then some of our Swift and augmented reality stuff. So.
What I mean by that, of course, is having a hoodie that has GIMM on it. Would that be cool?
Yeah.
Actually, I thought about a cardigan, but then like a Letterman's cardigan. That was my thought.
That's so you.
That's me though. Okay. You'd all prefer like a hoodie, right? It's cool. All right, good. I got it.
Can you talk a little bit about the history and the journey of getting to this point and how GIMM became GIMM?
Yeah. So I was in a program that was a little similar to this in Wisconsin, and as a part of my work there, plus what I was doing even as early as my PhD program, I started to do field research to see, what does it mean to be, our kind of a professional. So I was going off to these places, studios, other places around, a lot of it was the Midwest, but also I had a few folks around the coast, and just asking questions and like sitting and watching what they were doing. And as I saw kind of the work process and what was going on, all these people coming from different fields, it started to sort of inspire me, like, well, is there a curriculum that that would be able to kind of match or put this kind of experience together? And so that's part of where GIMM comes from. The other part comes from probably what my thought is about higher education, in that GIMM is really trying to come back to an older form of an older model of education, one that's more of an apprenticeship model, where you focus a lot more on the community, and you focus on this notion of, it's not about your grades as much as it's about your work or your portfolio or what you do.
I think we're just on the cusp of this, and I think this is one of the things that you're going to be deeply involved with as you move forward into your careers. There aren't that many game developers, really. I don't know, there's 8 billion people now? Probably not quite that many yet. How many game developers are there?
When you come here, one of the things that you get is a community, a learning community, a real learning community. And I think this is really important, because you can come to certain majors and you're going to the class, you're watching the lectures and whatnot, but I don't think that you're getting the same kind of a learning experience. And learning is really done, it's a social activity. It's done with other people. It's done with this sense of like, there's a sense of growth or trajectory, like I'm coming in, I'm a new person, and then I'm learning, and I'm eventually going to look like a senior or whatever and know what they do. And so, that's really kind of what I talk about, is that's what we're going to do for you. We're going to provide you a place that is like your second living room, your second home. You'll live here, sometimes whether you want to or not.
What the heck, right? Because in GIMM, This is what we do.
So from the Midwest. I taught at Iowa State for a few years and also a small school called Grandview University for a few years. Outside of all of the fun tech stuff that we do with GIMM, I like to do traditional painting, particularly at the large scale, so murals, something I really like to paint. And I like to get outside, so anything from skiing to mountain biking, hiking, stuff like that. I was originally a fine artist. My bachelor's degree was fine art and journalism, so I was a journalist for a few years. I specialize in animation, anything Adobe Creative Suite, also Unity, mixed reality experiences, and human-computer interaction. HCI was what my PhD was focused on, and how it bridged together a lot of both my fine art and technical skills.
So my name is Jack Politka. I got my doctorate from Iowa State University. Before I got my doctorate, I was a software developer for 10 years professional. 8 years, 7, 8 years of that was at Iowa State while I was getting my doctorate, so that part-time. And then 2.5 years of that was in Chicago, where I worked for an e-commerce website. Most of my programming experience is in PHP, MySQL, and JavaScript.
I guess I've always been in academia. I was born when my parents were grad students and grew up in a college dormitory. And, you know, I went to a couple universities, got a PhD in philosophy and taught that for 7 years across the nation, and came eventually to Idaho and learned computer science. And so I don't know, that seems fun, but now that I say it, it isn't. It's like I've always kind of been in academia, never really left. You know, both my parents are professors, which is pretty rad. Well, my dad bought me a drum set when I was very young, about 15 or so, and it was wild. I loved it, and you know, went through a couple high school bands in Atlanta, Georgia, and we used to play, you know, kind of like casual amateur level shows. A few shows where they actually paid us, but it was pretty rare. So I was in a couple bands like that and shifted from drums to guitar to vocals, and then, you know, just everywhere.
Well, like I said, originally I was a fine artist, which turned into a graphic designer. So I was a graphic designer for years. I went back to graduate school because I wanted to learn more and I was interested in teaching. My master's dissertation was on ebooks and graphic design for ebooks, which then morphed into my PhD for mixed reality with Hololens. So everything was kind of like a stair step to get there. The classes that I taught before were primarily graphic design and then a couple game design courses. At Iowa State, we didn't have a game design degree, and I really wanted the chance to teach something like that. And here we were, Boise State.
So you have a lot of experience then with like the Hololens.
Do.
How many years have you been working with it? That's what it's
Since 2015, so
Really?
6 years. So as soon as it came out, I was able to get it before it was really, it's not really yet released to the public. It's really just certain industries and education, but only a few people could have it, and basically schools that were doing research and certain companies, military. Had it.
Yeah.
But so I got to dive into it at the very, very beginning, which was great. However, as we have learned in this field, when you are the first ones to do it, you can't reference anything.
That's true.
So I had to just figure out Unity and figure out C# and figure out how to program without anything with Hololens, and then test those gestures.
That's so cool. That's why I had to bring it up, because I think it's so impressive.
Yeah, and now with Hololens too, which we'll bring that to class. It's gonna be good.
That'd be cool.
Even way better.
Dr. Ellardson actually was a professor from my undergrad. That's how I found out about this position, is that I kept in contact with him since Stevens Point, and he said, hey, I know you're getting close to finishing your doctorate. This might be a job you're interested in. You should apply to it if you like it. So I applied to it, and now I'm here.
That was pretty wild. So I finished up in philosophy, started teaching it, and got more and more interested in artificial intelligence. And I was like writing like philosophy about it, and just thinking from the top down, like consciousness in machines, and like what are the ethical concerns that AI brings, and I just realized one day that I wanted to know how to make them. I wanted to know what they really were from the ground up, instead of just seeing the lights flashing on the screen. I wanted to know what went into them. And so when I want to figure something out, I really only know one way of doing that. So I went to university again, got another degree. And along the way, actually, I was dating someone my age who was getting her second degree, and she took a class from Anthony, and she was like, this guy's really great. He's doing this new thing at BSU where it's like how to make video games, which is something we both wanted to do. So I took, I can't remember what class it was, but it's one of his game development classes. And and it was just amazing. Like all the things I was learning in computer science, I could make come to life, and like playful and fun. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but there were like copies of my dissertation in philosophy like all over my zip drives, and Anthony used to grade where maybe he still does this, I don't know, but you bring in your zip drives, right? Plug it into his computer, and so I did, and like one of the folders as I was clicking on it said like dissertation. He's like, wait, what's that? So I explained that like the way I was funding my education was by teaching it here, and also that is it CWI or whatever the local
I think it's CWI.
CWI, yeah. I was teaching like 5 classes in full-time student, and
Dang.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Backbreaking.
Yeah, and those were hard days.
Ooh.
Computer science is it was at least as hard as getting a whole PhD in philosophy.
Goodness, that's crazy.
Very difficult degree. And anyway, he was like, do you want to work for me? After he got to know me. And at that point my coding wasn't miraculous or anything like that. It was probably a little better than he was used to seeing, but he knew I could teach, and what he was trying to do here was like a mixture of the arts and sciences, philosophy and practical. So my skill set really spoke to him. And he actually came from a similar place where he got his PhD in rhetoric, and then moved from there to just getting really good at Animate and their suite of products, and working with game developers. And and along the way, like at some point it occurred to me that I would always be poor if I went on philosophy. I didn't want that.
Well, for GIMM, I teach both the freshman classes, so the GIMM 100, 200 level, and then also the senior capstone 480 and 490 courses.
Mobile web services 1 and 2, which is kind of intro and more advanced web development with a focus on mobile experiences and having pages and applications that don't refresh. At least that's kind of what I'm building off of. I'm going to teach the Internet of Things, which is about how sensors and physical hardware interact with cloud computing to make usable experiences and processes. And then I'm going to teach Senior Portfolio, which is about perfecting your final presentation for employers and writing cover letters and that sort of stuff.
GIMM 400, and so that's upper level game development, things like artificial intelligence, multiplayer game, implementation, networking, all the things that go along with that. I also teach 350, which is the game development class that comes before that, and that's going to be your basic game development techniques, how to do physics interactions, how to get animations moving, basically how to bring things to life inside of the Unity game engine, and make a game that people can interact with, you know, full, big 3D world or virtual world game. So I teach those two courses, and then a web development course. It's always been very ambitious and based on getting students to the point where they can be comfortable making apps with web development languages. So, you know, developing from JavaScript and CSS into things that are real mobile apps using the Ionic framework, or and you know, maybe even building to AWS servers. So we really went for the things that weren't being taught in computer science anywhere, and that people used out in the real world.
It's easy to get intimidated because there's a lot to learn, but try to know that every time you're doing something new, that's one step closer to really figuring it out. I guess that'd be part of it. Another thing is, don't put too much pressure on yourself to have a perfect job right out of graduation. You want to get a job in your field. That's successful, and then you can keep working to get that perfect job.
Don't be discouraged if you don't know programming. Everybody can program. It's just that it takes time to get good at it. So if you're not good at it right away, don't worry. You're gonna get better with it with time.
Definitely. That's something I had to figure out, because programming was not, it was like a foreign concept, not even a foreign language, just a foreign concept, absolutely. Perfect. Well, that's really all I had for today.
Don't give up, you know, just don't give up. There's a billion ways to do anything you want to do, and if one way isn't working, try something else, you know, but don't give up on the dream, on the idea, on the game, whatever it is, the project that I assign. You know, life rewards effort, and as long as you're learning ways not to do it, I mean, you're learning, you know.